Now let's do some examples. So let's compare 3 and 2, 4 and 6, 7 and 9, 9 and 9, 8 and 7, 1 and 1, 1 and 2, and 2 and 1. Okay, so if you're watching this video, please pause it, take a minute or two, and go ahead and try them out yourself before we get into giving you the answers for it. Okay, so 3 and 2. We can do our number line. I'm just going to go ahead and copy it from where we had it before. Okay, and we'll just put it down here. So if we're comparing 3 and 2, we have 3 and it is to the right of 2. So 3 is bigger than 2 or greater than 2. So we'll put the greater than sign here. The same thing with 4 and 6. 4 is right over here. It is to the left of 6. So 4 is less than 6. Now if we look at 7 and 9, well 7 is right over here, and 9 is over here. So since 7 is to the left, 7 is less than 9. Now if we look at 9 and compare it to 9, they're the same number. So we're just going to say that 9 is equal to 9. And we can use the number line to show that 8 is greater than 7, 1 is equal to 1, 1 is less than 2, and if 1 is less than 2, that means that 2 has to be greater than 1. Okay, now let's compare some bigger numbers. So we're talking about comparing bigger numbers. Okay, so let's start by comparing 20 and 10. Which is bigger? Okay. And if we look at this, we can see that 20 is bigger because we have 2 10s, whereas 10 only has 1 10. And since 2 10s are bigger than 1 10, 20 is bigger than 10. So we can say that 20 is greater than 10. So let's look back at 27 and 14, the example that we want to eventually get to. So we look at 27 and we look at 14. Okay, which is bigger? So if we look at 27, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have another group like that. Okay, and then we have 7 ones. And here we have 4 ones. And we have 10. Okay, so which are there more of? Now looking at this, we have a lot more in the 27 than we do in the 14. So 27 is bigger than 14 or greater than 14. But what if we get to really big numbers and we have like 197? So what we do in this case is there's a nice little step-by-step way of doing this. So we want to compare big numbers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure they have the same number of digits. Let's say the same number of places. So if something goes into the tens place, we want to make sure they both go into the tens place. If one of them goes into the hundreds place, we want to make sure both of them have something in the hundreds, and so on. Okay, and then we're going to look from left to right, and we're just going to compare each place. Okay, and we'll see an example of this. Okay, now if one place is bigger than the other, then that number is bigger. Okay, and that's it. If they are all the same, then the numbers are equal. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples. So let's first compare 21 and 17. Okay, so they both have 2 digits. They both go into the tens place. So we can move on to the next step. So we're going to look at them left to right. So we're first going to compare the 2 and the 1. Okay. Well, 2 is bigger than 1, and we can stop there. So 2 is bigger than 1, so 21 is bigger than 17. And we're done with this. Okay. Now let's look at another example. Let's compare maybe 21 and 23. So first, we're going to see, do they have the same number of digits? And yes, they both go into the tens place again. Okay, so now we're going to compare 2 and 2. Well, 2 is equal to 2, so that doesn't tell us much. So we're going to have to move on to the next digit over. So we're going to go next, and we're going to compare 1 and 3. Now we know that 1 is less than 3. So since 1 is less than 3, 21 is less than 23. Okay. Now let's look at maybe 2 more examples. We'll compare 11 and 9. So we have to make sure they have the same number of places. So make sure they both have the same number of digits. Okay. Well, 11 goes into the tens, but 9 doesn't quite reach there. So we're going to look at 11, and that's just going to stay at 11. But 9, we're going to have to give it something in the tens. And take a second and see if you can think of what that should be. It's going to be 0. So we're going to put a 0 here because there's 9 ones, but there aren't any tens. So we just put a 0 there, just as a placeholder. Okay, now we're going to compare. Now that we both have the same number of digits for each number, we're going to compare 1 and 0. And since 1 is bigger than 0, we have that 11 is bigger than 9. As a shortcut, we know that if something goes maybe into the tens and something doesn't go into the tens, the thing that does have more places is going to be the bigger number. So that's a small shortcut that we can use for that. Okay, and finally, let's do something a little bigger. We'll compare 324 and maybe 321. Okay, so we first compare. They have the same number of digits, so we can move right to the comparisons. So we're going to compare 3 and 3. But 3 is equal to 3, so we move on to the next one. So we're going to compare 2 and 2. Well, those are equal again, so we're going to have to move one more and see if we can get anything. We're going to compare 4 and 1. And here we have something different. And since 4 is bigger than 1, we have that 324 is greater than 321. Right? And that is it for number comparisons, seeing which one's bigger than the other. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to put them in the comments below.